Good people, so Lian Li made wireless fans. What? After working with them for over a week, they're not horrible, but I feel like they're misunderstood. For example, I was thinking it would eliminate the need for more cables, and after opening the package, especially for the LCD model, I was thinking like, hold on a second, why are there 3 cables here included and yet they're labeled wireless? Everything about the packaging is wireless this and wireless that. It seemed like Lian Li was complicating things for the sake of marketing, but in fact, they do simplify certain things when it comes to cable management, especially when you're working with multiple bundles of these fans. Now, my benchmark for eliminating cables when it comes to fans are the Lian Li P28s. I love the form factor, I love how they look, I love the performance, I don't mind their noise profile, and you can daisy chain all 3 fans together with a single cable. So you can run 9 fans off 3 cables, that's awesome. But Lian Li's introduction into the wireless space is actually because of the RGB, because the traditional methods of requiring a 5-pin addressable header and needing to have adapters and additional cables that run to that motherboard or have a separate hub into which all the addressable fans connect to, that introduces way too many cables. And so that is where the wireless is actually pretty handy. There's also a big difference in the cable requirements for the LCD version versus non. For example, with the SL wireless 120s, you can daisy chain 3 together and still run them off a single cable for both RGB control, PWM control, and driver support. That's pretty awesome. You just need the dongle connected into your motherboard I/O. While with the SL wireless LCD 120s, because of the additional power that is required to run the screens, that is being delivered with the internal USB 2 header. While if you're combining multiple LCD products and let's say have an I/O installed in the system that also requires that USB 2 internal header, then you better have a hub ready. This is one of those unforeseen hiccups, and you have to be prepared if you're buying multiple of the LCD packs. NZXT is sure in some hot water, but it saved my bacon here where I just needed to power 6 fans. And that is one of my major gripes with this whole wireless LCD product, just because you are introducing more cables into the system while also requiring them to still connect wirelessly to the dongle for them to function properly. While on the non-LCD models, that's where it makes way more sense because you eliminate the need to introduce any RGB cabling, any additional power cabling, and just run off everything off a single cable, and everything connects wirelessly to the dongle regardless. I do love the ability to remove the rubber bits on the fan frame, which act as your vibration dampers by default, and it's just a nice clean way that the fans are presented on the opposite side. So first you need a 12-volt PWM fan header, so the 4-pin kind, and if it's not supplying enough power, the fans will flash white. So it's a good visual distinction that there's an error with power delivery, and in which case you can either go into the BIOS and configure that to be your PWM supply. Because I was not able to give them power via Armoury Crate with the ASUS software, but had to go into the BIOS instead. If you still don't have enough power, you can use the supplied SATA cable to drive these fans, but introducing more cabling in the process. Now the thing is, if the fans worked perfectly without any bugs, I would be able to overlook the fact that you need additional cabling for the LCD model. But man, it's been nothing but bugs. Now Lian Li makes it very clear that you need to update your firmware and the drivers for everything to work properly, and this is where I was running into issues. So first of all, the fans were getting enough power, but they were flashing both the RGB and the LCD. So when I tried to update the firmware, it was giving me an error. So I tried to do it manually again because there are some instructions, and that also failed. Actually did not go anywhere. It would say update is in process, but nothing was happening. Then I realized that upon all the bugs, one of the devices disconnected from the wireless receiver, and reconnecting that again allowed me to update the firmware finally. Oh my god, is there another one? It is kind of funky though. The new Tower 600 is now appropriately sized for ATX systems with the usual panoramic 3-glass view, 420 RAD support, and 13 fans can be installed. Good luck. I really like the rich I/O, especially with the flexible USB 3 adapter. The GPU can be rotated for extra funky presentation, access is easy all around, and the vertical airflow should be a nice complement. And the optional base for lay flat mode is interesting indeed. Check out the Thermaltake Tower 600 down below. Alright, so out of nowhere, we lost the color preset for the top fans, for the side fans. Interestingly though, the LCD in the middle remains what I have set. Same thing for the bottom fans, they have not changed the color. So what the hell? Is this the wireless interference people keep talking about? And as expected, it looks like our devices have lost connection to the wireless dongle. So it's easy as this to reconnect them. but like I also wonder how quickly until they disappear and disconnect again. All right, so let's sync everything up and let's see how long it will take for it to desync. 14 minutes later. Look at that. These two lost connection. Let's see what happened. Yeah, two devices lost connection to the wireless receiver. Interesting. I do have a suspicion that maybe Armory Crate has something to do with it because it was updating some stuff in the background. Okay, so I'm back after 30 minutes and what do you know? The purple say the same, but the non-LCD models have gone back to blue. So they have lost connection. I just went up for dinner and an hour and 20 minutes later, all of them are still functioning as they should. So what is happening, Lian Li? One of the things you can try to do to eliminate this interference is to select manual channels. So for example, if you're in auto and you're noticing them dropping out or certain fans not connecting again after a while, you can select manual channels. And I'm guessing that's kind of a tedious process to go through just to find the correct channel that doesn't actually drop your connection. All right, I've stumbled upon another issue. I've unplugged one of the fans when the system was off, but the sensor still plugged in into the 4-pin header and it's reading that some devices are connected. Although it doesn't see any fans, which is good. The software knows that nothing is connected, but then when I try to configure any of the lighting, for some reason, it doesn't let me. Let's say yellow, everything still remains red like before. I might need to unsync everything and resync it again because right now, actually nothing's working. So after some troubleshooting and a restart, I figured out the problem. If you have one of these connected, that is also your like that wireless antenna, because the software sees that this is connected, but it doesn't see any fans, you cannot configure the RGB with the merge functionality for the RGB. For example, right now I have it on merge and I set it to, let's say red, all the colors, and I click apply, nothing changes. But if I deselect merge, and I say, let's say, choose river and apply to all, that is gonna apply to all the fans that are connected. So driver issues. One of my biggest issues with the RGB on both models is that none of the colors you select in the software actually reflect the real color on the fan. Selecting red in the software gives you pink, white looks decent, but it's leaning towards the blues for sure. So orange looks good, but as soon as we change that to, let's say, like a slightly or lighter orange color, look at this. What is this yellow mess, gross color tone? And you'd think that all these presets would be accurate. Like for example, this yellow, this is green, my friend. All the greens are good except for this one, I think. This one that like, yeah, this is supposed to be like a more teal. This is beautiful blue. And of course you can just turn off the lighting with a black. And the entire RGB spectrum cycling does reveal beautiful, vibrant color tones, but actually finding those in the driver software does require more work. And for some reason, both of my LCD packs have stopped giving me an ability to configure what to display on those LCDs. I can change the fan profile, I can change the lighting properly, but nothing on those screens. What's up with that? I've restarted the system, I've reinstalled Reconnect, I've replugged the wireless receiver, I've replugged all the fans, and it's still the same. It's just showing me the screens and the pictures that I was playing around with in the beginning, but I cannot actually configure them in the software anymore. I thought NZXT dropped the ball again because maybe the hub was not working. Plugging the fans directly into the motherboard has the same behavior. And since the screens are controlled by that USB 2 header, if that goes, then yeah, you're out of luck and nothing seems to be working. Restarting LCD, it doesn't actually do anything. And after reviewing an extensive fact list of issues and troubleshooting things from users and from Lian Li's troubleshooting page directly, I downloaded the engineering Reconnect 3, which made the LCDs finally work properly. And from a visual point of view, it's gorgeous. Like the viewing angles are really good. The sensor information is very pretty, very NZXT-like for the default one though. Some of the built-in animations are pretty cool and they're also direction specific. So if you have the horizontal or the vertical fan installation, the animation will change. And Lian Li tells us they're constantly working to improve the software, and that is where everything really has to be stable for these products to function properly, because otherwise, outside of the engineering Reconnect 3, I was not having a good time. To say this was a disappointment would be an understatement. I just don't understand this whole obsession with an LCD product. As soon as you start to introduce complications, both for wiring, driver side of things, and then troubleshooting, it just gets completely thrown out of the window. Any fun that you might have with an LCD on a fan. I will, however, say that I have not had a single performance issue with the non-LCD versions, with the SL wireless, aside from them disconnecting, and only the non-LCD versions disconnecting, but it's such a better product than the LCD version just because of one cable and wireless connectivity, because you can still run up to 10 devices into the wireless hub. And so that kind of opens up opportunities for eliminating way too much cable management, especially when you're dealing with RGB. But no way they're dethroning my favorite P28s and the daisy chain capability with a single cable at the same time. But the SL wireless LCD, it could have been so much more. Because imagine if the LCDs were powered with a SATA cable and not USB 2, but then the data would be delivered wirelessly. That would solve any issues when it comes to having power, but not having power for the right component. Like in my case, both LCD models' screens were not functioning properly. They functioned properly for a little bit until some interference happened. I restarted the system, and then all of a sudden, it doesn't work anymore. That is not a good experience, my friend. So, be aware. Thanks so much for watching. I'll talk to you in the next video.